Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and I switched the episodes around. I just followed that gut instinct of mine, that intuition, which is why I always tell you, business is, yes, strategy, but it's also art, and it's also intuition, and it's also psychology, all wrapped into one. And if you leave any one of those four things out or don't learn to kind of hone in on it, improve on it, understand that, so to speak, pillar, you're not going to have the level of business or growth that you desire, or it's going to suck the life out of you and not be fun. Because I know so many of you who are over the corporate world, whether you're still there and you're trying to transition out, or you've spent time there like I have, there isn't that much room for creativity unless you have a really unique job. And that's where a lot of you guys start getting stuck and bored and lifeless and feeling unfulfilled because there's no play and there's no fun and artistic creativity in it. And that doesn't mean necessarily like you're crafting, right? Although I do like a good craft session, but that doesn't mean you're doing arts and crafts. That's what so many people associate with creativity with. Creativity can be in your approach into teaching people something. Your creativity could be in how you present information to people. Your creativity could be in how you put together programs and products that differ from other people in your industry. There's so many different facets to creativity. And where I'm going with all this today is that I had a sense instinctively that so many of you are feeling not fully supported in your life. It could be by the people closest to you. It could be by a partner. It could be by a sibling, a parent, boyfriend, girlfriend. And you just don't feel like either they get you and get what you're doing and get what you're after. It kind of seems silly to them, or they don't get like even what it is you're doing, or maybe it's the seriousness of where you want to take it, or they think it's kind of silly. That's like, okay, she's multi-passionate, kind of a vibe. This is just another, fun thing she's doing, whatever. I remember when I was saying, I really want to start my podcast. Now, I've been wanting to start a podcast 10 years before I started a podcast. But when I really started saying it out loud and wasn't just keeping it to myself, because I kept a lot of my dreams to myself because I knew that if I said them out loud or really heavily stated them to someone else, and I would need to actually get into action and do something about it. Number one, I didn't know what action to take. I didn't know where to even begin. It felt also overwhelming for me, but really that was just a cover for I was terrified. Because if my dream didn't work, if this thing I've had in my heart for 10 years didn't work, then what the hell am I here for? Then what am I supposed to do? That would be devastating. And I was trying to avoid that, which in turn caused me many years of feeling unfulfilled, not living my purpose, lost, like I was just going through the motions. I don't recommend doing what I do. That's why I always share about it. But I remember when I started sharing about my podcast, and I had, I didn't share with that many people. I don't have that many people in my life. But the response was not like, oh my God, whatever you need for me to support you, I've got you. This is going to be the best thing. Let me know if you need any help. Do you need me to give you any seed money? Hell no. I had some people who were is the key word here, closer to me, who I respected, who actually knew a lot of podcasters. I had 2 people and they both were like, oh, well, you don't make any money podcasting. And I know a lot of my authors who listen to the show get a lot of that. Oh, well, writers don't really make any money. Oh, really? Au contraire. Au contraire. And is this person a writer? Like, it's crazy the stuff we take in from people. Like here, I took it in. I didn't let it stop me. I took it in. But the 2 people who were like, oh, yeah, podcasting doesn't really do anything. It doesn't make any money. Neither of these people were podcasters. And by the way, my net worth was probably like 20 times theirs. Not saying I'm better than, I don't mean it like that, but just consider the source, right? It would be like me giving you guys parenting advice. Like that, it would be offensive. I have to sip my coffee or I'm going to die a slow death. Hold, please. Yeah, it would be offensive but it would be comical. But to pretend that where do I stand to give parenting advice? Now, can I give advice on communicating with teens? Yes, I'm freaking amazing at that. And preteens. Like, I'm great. I would say 11 and up. So middle school and up, absolutely. And that's from but I have the receipts with that, right? I didn't bear children and they're not that age, but I've worked with very closely countless teens and preteens that we've rescued off the streets from sex trafficking. So I have a lot of evidence of what works, what doesn't work in practice. So don't be taking advice from people, or do your best to not take it in. It stings, but do your best to not take it in when your husband's like, well, you've been spending all this money on growing this business for the last 2 years and I don't, and you're barely making anything. Well, let's take a look at it, Stanford. That's the name I'm giving him. Let's take a look at this, Stanford. Let's break down any business that's out there. You pick their favorite restaurant. You pick Starbucks. You pick anything. Coca-Cola. You go break that down. The break-even point at these kind of businesses and brands that we all know today, it can take years. This is a very easy Google search. Look how long it takes to break even in the restaurant business and in the hotel business. In the online space, when you're selling online, I mean, maybe you need to take Stanford and watch some more Shark Tank. Because the reality is, online, you can break even and profit very quickly online because you're cutting out all these other expenses. Are there expenses? Are there investments you need to make to have a real business and not a damn jobby? Yes. And if I see one more freaking TikTok or reel, like, you don't need any money to start a business. Well, yes, to just start, that's true. To just start, you could utilize social media platforms, and probably make graphics on like free apps or something like that. Yeah, but that's just starting. That's like just the tip. Just the tip doesn't get the job done, if you know what I'm saying, right? So yeah, they're not telling the rest of the story. Sure, you can get started. But you want to have a real business and make business level cash and real money. Yeah, you have to put skin in the game, Stanford. But it stings and it hurts. And then it can mess with our heads going, oh my God, I don't have anything to show for it. And I want to make sure that they see that this was worth it and that I'm not just messing around here. And God, maybe it won't work. And it, when we surround ourselves with people like this, it can mess with our heads. I mean, I don't know if he's listening to this episode, but I'm sure he won't tell me anyway. Shout out Mike. I attract a lot of evasive people in my life. My best friend's evasive. Mike's evasive, but using Mike as an example, he was definitely supportive of me starting the podcast, but he didn't get it. And I'm not saying this in a mean way. He didn't get what I was doing. It seemed almost like, oh, Tiffany is doing a really nice philanthropy. Is that the word? Oh, I can't say it. Philanthropy? Philanthropy. Now it gets weirder the more I say it. Tiffany's doing basically a good service, right? Not just a passion project, but like Tiffany's going to be helping a lot of people. And this is almost like not a nonprofit, but I'm doing it for service to help the greater good. And he loved that. He didn't get how I was going to make a shit ton of money off it and help millions of people with it, because that's not his wheelhouse. This is someone who's a creative. This is someone who custom designs car interiors. Why in the hell would he know? Why would I know the whole luxury car world that he's in? I buy luxury cars, but I don't know all the margins, the lingo, the inner workings. So I had to remind myself, right? It was like when people would say to him, oh, what's Tiffany do? Oh, she has a podcast. And it was offensive to me. Like, no, I don't just have a podcast. I have a fucking business. I have a fucking revolutionary brand. But that's for me to have the conviction around. That's for you to have the conviction around, not the people in your life. And I don't care if some of the people in your life are helping pay for it. No one helped pay for any of my shit. Well, that's not true. My parents did pay for college. So that's pretty major. But even if someone is paying you or is giving you money, I mean, I invest in people's companies all the time. I mean, I don't go in there and be like, hey, why haven't I made a dime back yet? Now, if something seems shady, yeah, I'm going to ask. But I'm in it for the long haul. What are they so afraid of? These people who are saying these things, why do they care? And you're like, well, Tiff, I've used their, if it's a spouse or, a family member, friend you've taken money from, it's like, well, I've used their money and I keep needing more money to keep this business going. So they're kind of like, well, hey, you got to show me some proof it's working. So maybe on your side of the street, because there's always two sides, they're not seeing the conviction from you. Maybe because they're so close to you, they're only seeing your entrepreneurial meltdowns and that you're exhausted at the end of the day and that you're in a frenzy and you've got to go record this and you've got to edit this post, and they've lost, they're not getting as much of you because you're building something. So they're experiencing that. That's a net perceived negative to them. Because you're having to say no a lot more than, yes, and be readily available. And the other side is we tend to vent to the people closest to us. And so they don't see the other side enough of how happy this is making you, how fulfilled you are. It's terrifying. It's frustrating. It's all the things, but it's also exhilarating. You feel alive and it's super rewarding. So you have to own that part. You have to own that part of it and remind them, I love complaining. Another sip of coffee. Thank you. Hold, please. I love complaining. It's my form of venting. I actually want my private clients to where if they're all in their head and all the thoughts are swarming and that inner critic is nasty, I'm like, I don't care if it's 2 a.m. I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb. I want you to text dump me, voice text dump me. I need you to get that out of your head. And if it's not me, I want you to call up a friend, someone who can hold that space. I'll do it talking out loud to myself and get it out of your system. It's like a purging. It's almost like you're vomiting it out of you. Now, if that's all you're doing on the people around you, which I've done before, that starts going, hey. And if they don't see you taking action to do something different, yeah, you kind of appear like, well, God, if you're so miserable and if this is so hard, why do you keep doing it? So you've got to give the and when you're venting with those around you. Right, like, God, this is freaking tough. I'm terrified. I'm so pissed about this. Da 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 da. And I wouldn't want to trade it for anything. But damn, this is hard. And I'm committed to keep going. Because that's usually the concern, especially when someone's invested or someone has given you money or they're giving you time and energy to it. It's like, God, you don't seem happy. So when is this going to turn some profits, right? It's very offensive though. Very offensive. When I hear shit that my private clients say, oh, well, you've been coaching, with Tiffany for a month. And when are you going to launch this thing you're talking about? When we're fucking ready, Stanford, and not a day sooner. Because if you do it prematurely, not only will you not make money, you'll turn off your audience. Thank you. So you've got to hold that conviction. If you want what you say you want, you have to believe in your vision and your dream. You have to believe in it so much that when people say stuff, whether they're strangers or people close to you, it stings, but it doesn't derail you. Because people are going to say things because you're actually going after something you want. There's less of you available for them selfishly. And people don't like that. They want the you they had before you started doing this thing. And it triggers them and they might not even be aware of it. So they come up with all sorts of crap. And when people say you have to have unwavering belief in yourself, bullshit. My belief wavers all the time, but I have a steady kind of like state, right? There's a steady state of, I know I can do this damn thing. I believe in myself. I trust myself. I'm going to show up. I trust myself. I'm going to hire people to hold me accountable and do this. And I'll do the scary things and I'll show up regardless. And the more I do it and the more I'm in that action, the more I trust myself. And that way, when stuff goes sideways or someone who works for me goes off the rails or quits or ghosts us or, technology breaks, I'm pissed and it stings. But ultimately, it's going to be okay. I want to read this to you. So you can hear this right in your ear, whether you're in the shower right now, you're putting on mascara, you're taking a poo, whatever the crazy stuff is you guys do when you listen to me. Who this is by is Dhiman, Dhiman, I believe is how it's pronounced. This came across the other day at just the perfect time. And that's why I also moved this episode around to put it in this spot. Because I felt this was the perfect time where you needed to hear it on this very day. Sometimes life will make you fall down. Even when you do your best, some days are not going to go your way. But it's also true that things will change and you will rise again. Even if you have to wait a little longer and try more than once, you will overcome whatever it is that is hurting your heart. Maybe right now life is testing your patience and perseverance, your willingness to try again. Hang in there. Go easy on yourself. Keep going even on the days you don't feel like it. And remember, just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's not happening. I will also make sure I post this in my Instagram feed today. I have a feeling you need to take a screenshot and maybe even have this as your cell phone wallpaper or print it out or write it out so you can see it and remind yourself of this every single day. Now, you don't have to be going at this alone. Part of why some of the people around you aren't buying into your thing is because they see you being insane, posting and hoping, trying this thing, that thing, all over the place, and seeing if things work versus actually following a proven plan and you having the conviction and confidence it's going to work. Well, what is going to give you that is by having one customized to your business by someone who has done this for 14 years on repeat and knows what they're doing. This goes a long way. There's another way, and that other way you've been doing, my guess is not yielding the results you want. My spring applications are open for my exclusive 2-month private business coaching program. I only take a maximum of 6 people at a time, but in this program, we create a customer acquisition plan that is customized to you. So how we're going to attract ideal clients to you and convert them into paying clients. We also create a customized, profitable content strategy. So what to post, what to say, when to post it, all the things. We look at your overall branding and your brand story. We package your offers so that they are irresistible and people are eager and excited to buy from you. This doesn't matter what size audience you have at this level. Yes, the more ideal clients you're in front of, yeah, if you're doing it right, the more people will buy. But I also have worked with many people who have 500,000 plus followers and aren't making any money. So that's one facet, and that can also work against you. But we get into all of that. The reason I have it by application only is I want to be absolutely sure this is the best fit and that the holes in your business are the ones that I'm an expert in filling so that we know you will get your return on investment in working with me, and you will absolutely have those spots in your business that are preventing you from making that cash filled. And so to be absolutely certain, I have you guys apply. You can swipe up. It's in the show notes. So the link is right in the show notes. Or you can go to ProjectMeWithTiffany.com under Work With Me. And I'm also there. The link is in my bio on Instagram as well. So there's 3 places you can go. Swiping up is probably the easiest for you right now, unless you're showering. I wouldn't wait on applying, because once they're full, and you're not going to have that opportunity for a while. And truly, you've waited long enough. And you're never going to be ready. And it is terrifying. And if you really want to make it happen, then you'll have to find a way. And there's just no other way around it. Might not sound pretty, it might not sound fluffy, but it's facts. And that's what we work in over here. Proven strategy plus art plus science plus your intuition. You put those 4 things together and have an actual map so your brain isn't all over the place. You can be efficient, and you can do this in a few hours a day. You don't need to even do this. And this doesn't require 40 hours a week, people. I know you've been trained that, you've been programmed as such, not facts. If it took that much, I don't know if I'd be available for it. Are there some weeks I work more than others during launch periods? Of course. But I also have 2 businesses. Yeah, there are. But to get to even where you guys want to go, no, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do more to get more. It's that you need to be focusing your time, energy, and money on the right things and leverage those things. But I want you to know it is very common, whether you are someone who has, Chubb saw someone on the strand, whether you're someone who has a big family, you seem like you have a lot of people around you, you seem like you have a lot of friends, or you're someone like me who has one living relative and a very, very close inner circle, you have to pay for the support when you're reaching big dreams. Yes, you can have support from those around you. I'm not saying not to have that, But if you look at anybody who's really successful that you admire, respect, follow, take in their information, including me, we pay for our support. We pay for top quality support. You can't expect those around you to get what you're doing if they haven't done it. And it's also not their responsibility. This is why I typically have 2 to 3 coaches at a time. I have 2 right now. I have quite a few people that work for me. But do I have some support from people who I don't pay? Sure, but it's different. That's more of, it's just different. It's a different kind of support. But I got to tell you, both are required. And putting all that on those around you, that's part of the problem why they're growing impatient, right? Because you're leaning pretty heavy on them, and likely they don't fully get it. And that's not necessarily their fault, right? Just like my example of I could never get what it's like to truly be a parent. I can empathize, I can sympathize, I can imagine, but I don't know, right? So us getting frustrated with them, that's not really helping anything. It's a waste of our energy. So go apply if you are tired of doing this shit alone and want to actually see true movement in your business where you're getting clients and cash, and the toe dipping has to stop. Because when people around you see that, that's where there's a lot of a breakdown. Here, if I bottom lined my process to you for anything I've created, any part of my life, any goal, anything, it's taking the risk, showing up regardless, doing what it takes, surround yourself with great people, have fun, let go of the rest, repeat. That's my plan for everything in life. Not easy, but worth it. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. I love you. If you are getting great value out of these episodes and you really appreciate all the time, energy, and money it takes to put on the show and me be in your ear several times a week, please go leave a 5-star written Apple Podcast review or Spotify review. That really makes the show grow and expand. That is the best way you can show your gratitude for the show. I love when you guys take screenshots of the show as well and share it in your Instagram or Facebook stories and tag me. That's awesome. And when you DM me, the ultimate show of appreciation and gratitude is a 5-star written Apple Podcast review or Spotify review. Please leave your name and Instagram handle in the review. You don't have to, but I always like to know who left the review. And when I share them on social media, I love tagging you. If you want to remain anonymous, of course, that's fine as well. Appreciate you guys so much.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.